Have you ever started a new job or felt excited to launch a new service you've worked on for years, and then suddenly a thought creeps in that worries, what if I'm wrong? What if I don't actually know what I'm doing? Even with decades of experience, imposter syndrome can show up and shake your confidence, but it doesn't have to sabotage your dreams. I'm Dr. Annie Campanile, and in this episode of Heal Your Trauma, Find Your Voice, we're talking about what's really going on when self-doubt creeps in. I'll share a simple, powerful way to overcome imposter syndrome so you can finally trust yourself, speak up with confidence, and stop second guessing whether you deserve your seat at the table. Welcome to Heal Your Trauma, Find Your Voice, the podcast for trauma survivors ready to break free from people-pleasing and self-doubt. I'm Dr. Annie Campanile, here to help you trust your intuition, communicate clearly, and build relationships that fulfill you. Each week, you'll learn practical tips to heal past wounds and turn surviving into thriving. Welcome back to episode 15. Today, we're getting honest about a persistent form of self-doubt that many smart, driven, caring people experience, but rarely talk about. It's not that loud, dramatic, I'm a fraud voice that you might normally associate with imposter syndrome. It's sneakier than that. It's the voice that says, maybe I don't know enough. Who am I to lead this team? Other people seem to have it all together, but I'm a mess. I recently talked about imposter syndrome with Allie, my coaching client who you met in episode 13. In a moment, you'll join Allie and me as we explore what imposter syndrome sounds like, how it can show up even after we've gained decades of experience, and how you can overcome that voice that says, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, with something much more powerful.
I definitely think we talked a lot about imposter syndrome, and I still struggle with that. I still think, do I really know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What if I'm wrong? What if I'm telling you this as your healthcare provider and I'm actually completely wrong? And I've been in healthcare for 24 years. I've been a nurse practitioner for 11 years, and I still have those moments of like, do I actually know what I'm talking about?
That is so interesting. Yeah, imposter syndrome. I'll be 55 in August. I will say it's only been within the last maybe 6 months where I no longer struggle with imposter syndrome. So it's really common. That might not be encouraging, but but it started to shift right before I moved to Colorado. So I guess I was 47 or 48, but I was interviewing for a job and I was feeling all nervous, and I had a session with my own counselor, and she was like, Annie, you know what you know. Like, you actually know it. And somehow that was so enlightening for me. I was like, oh, that's true. Like, I don't know everything, but I actually do know what I know. And I remember walking around in my living room, talking to myself after that session, like, I am Annie Campanile. I am 47 years old and I know what I know. It actually helped me. And then I aced the interview and got the job. But it also stuck with me. So whenever I have found myself questioning or feeling that imposter syndrome, I will do that in my own mind. I know what I know. You know what you know.
I used to prepare every sort of response, and I now prepare myself with any sort of conversation with my patients. I have no idea what is going to be said, and I have no idea how that person's feeling, and I'm not going to make any assumptions. I'm going to go in and fully listen. And if I don't have the answer right then, it's okay for me to say, I need time to think about this.
Awesome. You know yourself well, you know that you'll be able to handle it if something doesn't go well or if there is critical feedback. You know that you're capable of responding and you don't have to prepare your defenses in advance.
But you taught me that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I call that the power pause now. I taught that in episode 5. So for those of you listening, if you want to know how to do that, listen to episode 5. It's called Pause Before You Please.
I always think it's interesting to hear from anybody that I think really knows what they know to say that they still feel that way. Like, it's hard to imagine you feeling that way. Never a doubt in my mind that you know what you know, which is amazing.
Thank you. It is really wild, isn't it? It's great that we can see one another. And, I think that's actually worth remembering. Whatever doubts we have about ourselves or worries we have about our enoughness, there is bound to be somebody looking at us thinking, wow, she really has it all together. Here's what I want you to remember. That feeling that you get, the one that says you need to work harder or learn more or prove yourself, it's not a sign that something's wrong with you or that you need to change who you are. It's just a sign that your survival brain is trying to protect you. And you can shift out of survival mode into your personal power. It's actually pretty simple. When you've spent years learning to stay safe by being the one who gets it right, your brain starts to associate certainty with safety. So when something feels new or high stakes or emotionally risky, your survival brain will pipe up with, "Are you sure you're ready for this? Shouldn't you know more by now? Or what if you mess this up?" And because you're smart, you'll start looking for logical answers like, maybe I need another certification, or maybe I should wait to speak up until I'm more prepared. But these thoughts are not rooted in logic. They're rooted in fear. They feel true because you've practiced them a lot. But you can overcome the fear and ground yourself in the truth simply by reminding yourself of what is actually true. So the next time the voice of doubt pops up for you, pause, take a breath, and say out loud, I know what I know. I don't know everything, but I do know what I know. The more you practice saying that out loud, the more your survival brain will start to catch up and realize, oh yeah, that's true. I know what I know. I'm all good. I can handle this. If something unexpected comes up, no big deal. I will be able to meet that challenge. No matter how much we've healed from past trauma, the voice of imposter syndrome might occasionally show up. It still does for me now and then. But the more you remind yourself, I know what I know, the easier it will be to free yourself from the fear and move forward with confidence as your full, fantastic self. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Heal Your Trauma, Find Your Voice. If you loved this episode, please scroll down, click those 5 stars, and share it with a friend. Next week, I'm exposing a burden so many high achievers quietly carry, especially if you've lived through trauma. We're talking about what happens when you start to suspect your boss is taking advantage of your work ethic. If you've ever told yourself, maybe I'm overreacting, or felt guilty for even thinking about speaking up, be sure to tune in, because you deserve to be respected at work. Until then, I'm Dr. Annie Campanile, reminding you that healing is possible, and you don't have to do it alone. See you next time.